So this is Dan of Vagabond Awake, and today we're lucky to have John on the channel. Welcome, John.
Thanks for having me on.
So John, where are you from in the world?
I'm from the United States.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Da Nang, Vietnam.
And how did you pick Da Nang out of the whole world you could go to?
A lot of it came down to channels such as your own and comparing all the various locations. And I did come here for a month in June 2016, and it left such a lasting impression. It felt familiar as a first place, and then next thing I knew, it's going to be my final choice.
One of the ways people end up on this channel is they try to find cost of living. So if it's okay, I'd like to talk about that first. What is the range of
Okay.
expenses, maybe low to high, that expats that you chat with there are spending per month living there, if you have an idea?
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea. My costs can run as low as 500 US, but that means you need to be fully integrated and living like the Vietnamese. And you're still living extravagantly by yourself as a Westerner at 500 a month, quite frankly. I mean, it's amazing how far money can go. It can go well north of that. It really has to do with the choice of where you want to live. Like if you want to be 14 floors up in, one of the larger buildings, you're going to pay appropriately for that view. And it starts to feel a little bit more like Western class, but realistically not that close.
And so have you rented a place there? And how much per month if
I
you
have.
have?
Yeah. Through all the local friends I made, I literally walked 5 to 8 miles a day every day when I first got here, and coffee shop to coffee shop, because that's really where it's at here. If you really want to meet a lot of friends and figure out what neighborhood's right for you, I think that's just the best way to go. Try to avoid the motorbike initially if you can. And through in meeting everyone, I was told, "Hey, did you know you could live for under 200 US?" And I've seen reference of it, but I mean, like actually finding on the ground is a lot more difficult than you would think. It really comes down to you have to talk to enough people to get a feel for what the options are. And I'm in a building that's only 4 years old, and there's a terrace roof with a view that, quite frankly, should be a lot more than what I'm paying. But I'm only paying 175 a month, and when you factor in utilities, it'll be about 240 a month roughly.
Wow. So 240 a month includes your apartment. That's US, by the way.
Yeah,
Utilities.
yeah.
Um, for example, what do you how do you break down those utilities? Is that electric and
Yeah.
Wi-Fi? And how do those break
Yeah.
out?
Yeah, if you break it down, I was shocked actually at what the contract said. I had to have it clarified. Water is like $6 US per month. That was shocking. I do have high speed internet, which was a crazy $13 a month. So another shocking cost is, I mean, that's easily 100, 110 on average in the US. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to electricity and how much you run the air con. I'm a bit of a fan, getting used to the heat still. So that's really where you're going to spend a lot. And in Vietnamese terms, running the air conditioning, if you run a lot, it's going to be about 1.5 million Vietnam dong. Um, so in American money, you're going to spend anywhere from 40, say, to $80 or so per month to run air conditioning, depending on how crazy you like to run it. I run it quite a bit, and I'm being told I need to adjust that by the woman I've been seeing. So like
Okay,
it's
we'll
just so
get
hot. It just takes a while to get used to it.
yeah, it takes a while to grow your South Eastern Asian blood, but I know what you mean. I remember the sweaty days. I still sweat a little, but not like when I first got there. So do you eat mostly in local restaurants, or are you eating more in the more expensive foreign restaurants, or what are?
I have done one foreign meal, if you will. I was craving Korean barbecue. And so this is for two people, mind you, and I had a Tiger beer, which is pretty popular local, and I really enjoy. And I got the bill, and I actually asked if it was correct. Like, are you sure? They're like, yes, that's how much it was for two people. It was $11.80 for like 3 pounds of meat on a Korean barbecue grill, and they cooked it for me in front of me. And I'm like, what? I'm not allowed to cook it? It's because I'm a foreigner? Like, am I a liability or something in your restaurant? But it was phenomenal service, which is so common. Your hospitality is just through the roof. I've never experienced being treated so well consistently all the time. And Yeah, so that was that's been my most extravagant meal so far. And mind you, that's for two people. The average meals I'm having, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, are averaging less than $2 US. And if we cook in home, averaging less than $1 per day. And if you saw the pictures of the food, I've been sending them home to everyone, and they're like, "What are you eating? It always looks amazing." So I'm teaching everyone, the local fare, but there's just no reason to spend $1 million. Now, for those who want to, by all means, go enjoy yourself, buy beer for everybody, have fun. But me personally, you can really live really well and you don't have to splash the money.
That's sweet. That's sweet. So maybe one of the things people would be able to retire early, maybe earlier than they would if they tried to stay in their home country. I think that's one of the big benefits that I see. You said you might be able to live as little as 500 a month, and how would that vary versus whether you're single or you're in a relationship?
I would say plan on a fluctuation of about 50 to $100, which in Vietnam terms is actually a lot of money. Because if you look at the average income, it's 175 a month. And the woman I'm seeing, she has a really good job with a pension, and she's in a very lucky place with a degree of the whole 9 yards. And he's making 175. Like when I said, "Are you making 175?" And she was shocked. And I'm like, "Well, that's what the internet says about the average income." And she thought it was like a low job. And I'm like, it's not at all. Like 175 means average, and you get a pension. Most people work 7 days a week and don't get weekends off, and she has weekends off. So it's really going to depend on the woman you meet. I mean, when you meet the right one, she's going to try to save your money, not spend your money. All the people I met, all the friends I made, literally sat me down and ran down like a 20 bullet point list on why I need to give this woman a chance. And I'm like, well, can't go wrong. Like the worst thing that could happen is we have a nice blind date and so have a nice day. But it went really well.
Did you meet online? It sounds like maybe you met her through friends, or what happened?
No, yeah, just through the coffee shops. I can't say enough. I think if you want to go far here, frequent the coffee shops. Like uh, I was doing two or three every day on the ground, just walking, 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 and that's why I got bit by that dog I mentioned.
So you've had an experience. You were bit by a dog, and of course, when you're bit by a dog, you don't know whether or not it has rabies. It really doesn't matter what country. And so you need
Yeah,
to get a rabies shot. And so you've had
yeah,
experience in the medical situation there.
yeah.
Tell us about that and whether or not you were happy with it or whatever.
From beginning to end, I was actually extremely impressed. Borderline shocked at just how efficient everything was. By a huge coincidence, it turned out all these friends have been making were doctors.
We're what?
Are doctors. I mean, it's just like the way things have fallen in place here is just borderline, like a fever dream coincidences of things. I mean, I get bit by a dog, and then I didn't know before that everyone I was talking to and friendly with and eating with and everything, turns out they're all doctors and they all work at the hospital. And I feel like, what are the odds? And that first night, so my girlfriend took me over, and the hospital was just closing. And but even that experience was very pleasant. And they just said, come back in the morning at this time. So we went back the very next morning. And I didn't get charged. I was shocked. I didn't get charged for two doctor consultations to look at it and determine the next step and everything. I mean, if I walked through the front door of any hospital in the United States, it wasn't $800 just to have that conversation. There was no charge. Like literally, they're like, "Yep, I got bit by a dog." They referred me to a local clinic, and I'm now 3 of 5 rounds in of rabies shots. And it does turn out there's a little bit of cost in that. Well, this is going to vary depending on your luck. In my case, it's going to come out to about 100 US for all 5 rounds. And I can't say enough about when it happened. 5 people on this in that immediate neighborhood immediately came to my rescue. One of them chased away the dog. One of them goes and grabs like an alcohol like swab for the back of my leg to disinfect me immediately. They went and told like the best English speaker on the street, which is like a 15-year-old high school student, and he comes over and says, "We know this dog has been vaccinated, so don't worry about it too much. But of course, if the danger is really the bite and maybe the infection from, we know what dogs lick all day, so." It was a really good choice to do everything, and it's made family, mom, and everyone comfortable overseas with, hey, I'm not going to lose a leg or anything strange.
So you met your girlfriend through friends, is that right? Or
Yeah, through everyone I've been meeting through the coffee shop. So I ended up making basically two core groups of friends that I'm good friends with already now. One of them was the sidewalk coffee shop because, as you know, being here, that's where you pay like 40 cents for an espresso, and it's the best coffee you've ever had, unless you've been like Kona or somewhere, right? And so that was the first group I met, and through them, like I've met tailors who will make linen shirts, some linen shirts for $14. I mean, it's really about getting to know the people because they're so friendly. Like they genuinely want to meet you. They genuinely want to get to know you, and you can tell it's not everybody by any means. Like I don't want to sugarcoat it too much. I want to keep it realistic, but that first group is the one core group, and then another coffee shop about a kilometer away to give you an idea of the spread of all the running around, right? They're the ones that end up being doctors that I had no idea. I mean, they were just like really nice people. I had coffee with 2 3 hours every morning, and we're exchanging Vietnam and United States stories and things like that. And they were the ones that sat me down. I was actually trying to leave, and two women said, you know how they press through this way instead of this way, like we would. And I'm like, okay, well, it looks like we're friendly people. I'm game. And they said, sit down. And I sat down and they said, we know, you really need to give her a chance. She's just very shy. So she hasn't really dated. And she's an incredibly good woman. And we can vouch for her because we've worked for her for many, many years. It's been through them that I got the condo. It's been through them I got taken care of for the dog bite. It's been through them I'm with this amazing person now.
when you go to a country, if you spend a good portion of your time focusing on, more than 50%, I recommend meeting local people in their world. The experience
Yeah.
is much different than trying to find a bunch of people from your home country to hang out with, because you really get to know the culture better. You have a better experience. You know what to pay for things. So you're telling a story that I've experienced over and over again, and I really appreciate that.
If you would like to learn how I fired my boss and traveled the world for 16 years and how I pay for things, grab a free copy of my ebook.
It's a really good point when you say pay for things. There are two prices. So for anyone who might catch this video, when there's something I really want and it's not an exact price, I don't buy it. I have my friends buy it because they're going to pay.
So the experience of leaving your home country and moving to another country, do you miss anything from home?
$12 cheeseburgers that were mediocre at best for that price. I mean, they were $6 3 years ago. You know how things have changed in some places. But no, I genuinely miss family. Of course, I speak with family and friends every single day. That's something that's certainly not going to change. Now it's been my job to try to convince them to come over here because all these wonderful people I've met, they're like, we've got extra rooms. Like, don't you tell your family, tell your friends, don't rent a hotel, come stay in our homes. And you've seen how beautiful the homes are here. I mean, there's certainly levels, of course, but I mean, like most people you're going to meet like a typical traditional coffee shop, you walk in their home and it's marble floors and like vases that if you and I saw in the United States, we'd cringe at the thought of the price.
Yeah, yeah.
Just beautiful, beautiful homes. And I think that's really the way I prefer to travel. I think that's just the way to do it too, is the cultural aspect of it. There are those who are going to stay on the villa off the beach and pay $1,000 a night. I mean, that's an option. But me personally, I think the true joy really comes from getting to know the locals. Even with having just started leasing the condo, I've been here now for about 10 days. I'm branching out to the different coffee shops. I'm continually expanding the group of people I know because each group's a different experience, a different conversation. I'm learning different things.
What about safety? Do you feel safe living there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the internet lies. Like I was told, if you're going to do this, do the Facebook expat forums. And if anyone in the expat forums in Da Nang happens to watch this, this isn't personal. It's probably not you if you're watching this, but there's some bad info in there. I mean, like just awful information in there. It is incredibly safe. I would say, quite frankly, it feels safer than the average middle-sized city is in America, with the state of affairs over there. I mean, it's like anywhere though, be smart. Like it might not be a good idea to leave your iPhone on the table and walk a mile and come back. But the strange thing is, maybe not strange, I should say the positive thing is 99% of the time it's still going to be in the exact same spot or the owner secured it for you. And I've already left something of value randomly wandering the neighborhood. This happened yesterday, actually. And I ended up getting an expensive haircut and a straight razor shave and everything. It was, brace yourself, $2.80. I realized afterwards that I'd left something behind at a store where I was looking at some jewelry, and I wasn't even worried. I honestly wasn't even worried because I've heard other stories of people leaving debit cards in the exit slot and going back the next day and it's on top of the ATM. I mean, it doesn't mean everyone's going to have that level of positive experience. Like things do happen and you do read about them and it can happen, but it's mainly like petty theft stuff. So if you're smart about keeping track of things, you're not one to leave things behind all the time because you're going to get it back 99% of the time. But it's incredibly safe.
What about advice? Do you have advice for others? Like if you could do it all again, what would you do
Yeah.
differently?
I researched it so thoroughly. I spent a good 6 months, and that's why I subscribed to you. I've been watching that so much longer than that, but that's why I did your membership because I wanted to read all the inside stuff you provided because I'd already gained so much value. Depending on where you lease or rent, like my condo was first and last month. Well, if it's 175 a month, that's no big deal. But when you're pulling Vietnamese currency out of the ATM machine and you're hitting limits, you start walking around, like you're Scrooge McDuck, and you've got like your bills are this thick, so it feels a little awkward and strange, and you're gonna spend more cash on the ground than you'd think initially, especially like moving into your condo or depending on what you're gonna do. And if you end up in a deposit first last month situation, you're gonna really appreciate having it and only having to make one stop to make that currency exchange instead of hitting up three ATMs and walking around with 4 inches of bills.
This walking thing you're doing, I think that's really worth a second question, and that is, do you try to take a different path each time you walk so you're seeing something new around you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And what I do is I start close. Like when I got to New Condo, for example, I followed the main roads. And then after I learned the main roads and had my bearings and a feel for where I was without needing GPS or Google Maps to get back, I started tightening the circles around those main roads to find every little alleyway, every little coffee shop. Like just yesterday, I found a new alleyway that was 150 feet away. I didn't even know existed. And it was just this beautiful alleyway. And there was a home that had really high security, but you could see through it. And it was just lavish. I mean, like someone spent decades just buying museum quality statues and things like that. And you're not going to catch that kind of thing unless you're really truly wandering. So yeah, so that's what I do. I start on the main roads until I start recognizing things, and then I start branching into the neighborhoods, and then I start going into the alleys. So there's basically like three levels of wandering, if you will, if you were to just put it under one category.
Yeah.
And I've come across entire temples like in back neighborhoods, like narrow street back neighborhoods, just phenomenal. And the one I found about a week ago, I was the only one there.
How would you finish these sentences? Don't come here if you think it's going to be.
Only coconuts and trees. The real value is getting into the culture. You're getting to know the people. Um, the beach is absolutely wonderful. You've been on Nike and Fukmi beaches. It looks like Miami. It really does. It's absolutely gorgeous as far as U.S. comparison goes. But there's a lot more to the coconuts and beaches. And I hope anyone that comes here enjoys that part of it because it's absolutely extraordinary. But I hope they also walk beyond the tourist district, which only goes about a mile to a mile and a half in from the beach, because where you start finding the bits of gold is when you actually get into the community. But I'm not in the tourist areas at all. And I can just walk to the tourist areas. They're only 10 minutes away.
That's great. That's great. And do come here if you want.
Yeah, do come here if you want just an extraordinary adventure. An amazing culture. People are very friendly. You'll notice like maybe walking around the first day, you get looked at a little bit strange, but if you smile and wave by the second or third day, you're making friends and they're inviting you in and have some tea, have a beer with me, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely come over here, even if it's not long-term or permanent like you and I are doing. It's such an amazing experience.
I call the smile the international passport. I've found that all over the world, if you smile, especially if you smile and wave, it kind of unlocks people's hearts and you get a whole different experience.
The Vietnamese people truly are warm, friendly people, and they're interested in getting to know you. And I think it's the coffee culture. It keeps the neighborhoods together, it keeps the community together. Everyone exchanges information.
What's your visa situation? How are you looking at
Yeah.
that problem that people have in Vietnam?
Yeah, it's something to keep in mind if you're going to do this. The same thing you two have experienced traveling around. You need to keep up on it. You have to respect it. You don't want to end up on the wrong side of your visa expiring and maybe getting blacklisted or banned for a while. In my case, there's a local company called Lynn Visa, Lynn Visa, that I had taught through various YouTube channel recommendations, and I'm going to be doing the Da Nang to Laos and back in one day once I start doing that back and forth. And at the moment, it's every 90 days. I'm hearing really positive things on the ground. They're not getting the tourist levels back they had in 2019. So they're talking about 6 months or maybe a year. It would be dreamy. So we'll see how it pans out. The Southeast is changing. I think they're starting to realize there's more benefits than not to bring in tourists, even though I'm sure there's a little bit that comes with it. But yeah, so right now it's every 90 days and doing border runs.
Some people end up getting married eventually when they find the right person, and then it's a marriage visa after that, I suppose. There's also other kinds of visas. There was a fellow in Nha Trang who had a business visa. He started a little taco stand, and there's education visas or whatever, and you can talk to visa agents about it. But most people start out with that 90-day and do visa runs for the first whatever period of time until they decide if they want to try to stay long term. So thanks so much for coming on the channel and sharing your experience. I know there's a lot of folks that are trying to figure out what to do, and
Yeah.
just hearing what your experience is, I'm sure will be great for them. And so I really appreciate you coming on.
And truly thanks to both of you because it helped make the leap. So thank you.
Could you please help me with something? You've probably watched our guest star interviews on our guest star playlist. I interview people that have retired overseas. They share valuable information such as cost of living, safety concerns, finding love overseas, healthcare experiences, and money problems. If you'd like to share something that you have learned living overseas, please come to vagabondbuddha.com, click the More tab, click the Contact Me tab, and tell me about what you would like to share with my channel.